Draft Chaff. Coming up this week.
You never have to be the fastest, just don't be the slowest. And just look at him.
If that doesn't make a good sticker, I'll eat my hat. Like, come on, that thing looks amazing already. Downsides include, when it rains or like a bird poops through your tent window and that sort of thing. What's up, aficionados? Welcome back to Draft Chaff. This is episode 212. This is Ben. Joining you on the line is Tyler. Tyler, are you getting a weird sense of deja vu?
I was just about to say, man, I feel like I'm I'm reliving these days over and over again, it feels like.
Is it possible that perhaps half of the co-hosts involved in the recording of Draft Chaff maybe didn't hit the unpause button, and maybe we got like 15 minutes or so into an episode?
Could be, man. We were like stuck in a time loop,
and lost all the footage. I really don't know who would do such a thing.
We'll never know, man. We time walked.
Anywho, we have our Draft Chaff Hero today. Draft Chaff Hero is honestly always one of my favorite episodes of the format. We've got a good one for you here today, and I'm sure it's going to make a very cute sticker as well. So patrons, be on the lookout for that. Speaking of which, we should mention we've got a Patreon, and if you're interested in supporting the Draft Chaff podcast, the nonsense that we do here, you can support us for like a quarter an episode. That ends up being like $2 a month. If you'd like to give more, then, thanks. That's great. But there are rewards for it, of course. We're pushing to continue to improve the Patreon so we can continue to improve our bounty boards. Those that don't know the bounty boards, if you're in the Discord, you already did that. By the way, that's a little side plug, little transition there. Make sure you're in the Discord. Lots of cool stuff happening there, including the bounty boards. Bounties are just stuff that you want to do in the format anyway. We actually have some updates to the Bloomburrow bounties to talk about this week. But if you complete the bounties, you get points in the Discord, and then whoever's the most points at the end of the format, the top 3 people, get packs sent straight to you, either mailed to you, or I can give you arena codes, or I've Venmoed people before. It's just free money, and you're doing this stuff anyway. So you want to make sure you're getting your prizes for it. So make sure you're in the Discord so you can keep up with that. And if you're interested, hop over to our Patreon and support that so we can continue to improve the prize structure. We see someday putting out boxes for the winner, and that'd honestly be awesome. By the way, our YouTube channel's been really picking up. We've been posting live drafts every Monday and Wednesday. Sometimes collaborative between the two of us, sometimes just one of us posting, but you can always count on a live draft Monday, Wednesday, and an episode release on Friday. We got a nice schedule going here. Really liking where we're at. Let's jump into our crack a draft type thing. This one, man, it's going to be even more brutal doing it the second time because
relive those painful memories.
And this is the third time I've seen this pack this morning, and I'm not even. Man. So this is actually my pack one, pick one from the Arena Open Day 2 draft. We've got a Head of the Homestead first thing out here. 5 mana. It's a rabbit. It's what rabbits want to do. It makes a bunch of rabbits. But it's pretty replaceable as like a 5 mana spell, right?
Yeah.
Corpseberry Cultivator is our next card here. I like this little guy. You can actually get a bit of a spoiler, those watching on YouTube or watching on Spotify video. You can actually see that I end up taking the Corpseberry Cultivator out of this pack. So go through the rest of the pack with that in mind. We'll see if you agree or disagree with me. That's the 3 mana 2/3. It forages on your combat. Grows each time you forage. Have you been playing much Kindle Spark Duo?
No, never. I mean, obviously it's great in the Otter deck. If you're casting a lot of instants and sorceries, you're going to be able to untap this and just ping out. But who's playing the Otter deck?
Yeah. I wish me. Once you see the rest of this pack, that'll make sense. But Conducting Electricity. There's been some murmuring, some discussion about how removal is not as good in this format as it typically is. I do tend to agree with that sentiment, and I think Conducting Electricity is a big factor of that. It's 5 mana, and honestly, sometimes you won't even fully trade. Like, think about if this is your 5 mana play and your opponent has like a Hive Spine Wolverine and they fought one of your tokens down or put a counter on something else. You're honestly not even getting a full 1-for-1 out of this. Now, Eternal Hunger is a bit better. The cheaper the removal gets, the more interested I am in it, because then you're more likely to either trade efficiently on cards or mana. Something with Offspring in this format, too. If you use this to kill one of those creatures, they might still have a good card left behind. Now, Eternal Hunger, I do think, is a pretty solid card, though. We've got Mind Spiral. Have you cast a Mind Spiral recently?
Not recently. I was going to say, I've cast this definitely in the early days of the format. And obviously drawing 3 cards feels great, but it really doesn't do anything. You're not affecting the board state in a positive way. No.
I'm actually just now really looking at the art. Have you looked at what's going on inside that mist? It's like a
No.
rat eating a fish,
Oh
eating a
yeah.
rat, eating a fish. It's like an Ouroboros type thing.
I'm losing my mind is spiraling right now.
Yeah, needless to say, tapping out to not affect the board on turn 5. Well, you do affect the board. You give your opponent board. You give them a token, right? I don't like the idea of that at all.
No.
I do like Dazzling Denial. If you got to play blue, I like having a couple of these around. Also, I like that spider crab. We don't really see many of the crabs. There's only the one. There's like the Eddie Merc crab, right? But I was just in an aquarium over the weekend, and I saw a bunch of giant spider crabs like this, and
they're terrifying.
Oh yeah, they're horrific. I can't ever really imagine where this art is taking place, given that crabs are aquatic and that's a hummingbird, and I'm pretty sure that would die instantly if it went underwater, right?
He's dazzling now. He's fine.
That's true. Far be it for me to question someone dazzling. Banishing Light, I think this is a symptom of the removal in the format. There's so many main deckable disenchants, so many that you just wind up in your deck almost like accidentally, like Paw Patch Formation, Scrap Shooter. What's the mouse?
It's the Nettle Guard. It's the 3/1. You could sacrifice it to destroy an enchantment or artifact.
Yeah, if they do that on turn 2 and you look at Banishing Light in your hand, you're like, well, I guess I have to use this to target the mouse. Otherwise, they can just get back whatever I. But then I'm 3 for 2, and I'm trading a kill spell for their 2-drop, and it's like not even a good one, man. Banishing Light, I do like it. I'm not really cutting it from white decks, but this is probably the worst it's been. Like, it almost feels like it should be downshifted even more. Like, I get why they downshifted it from an
super
uncommon.
Common.
yeah, like from an uncommon to a common, but it almost feels like this needed something tacked onto it, like gain 2 life or give it.
This
flat.
is such a creature heavy format too. Like the fact that it hits non-land permanents isn't really relevant. There's only one planeswalker in the set. You know, it hits the classes, which is nice, but
that's true.
Yeah.
I actually used one of these earlier to get rid of a Bumbleflower's share pot.
Okay, removing their removal.
But the thing is, the share pot can blow up a non-land permanent. So if I hit anything else, they just get it back. I actually did have a deck with triple Banishing Light, and I used it on their share pot, and then they top decked another share pot. So they blew up the Banishing Light that had the share pot under it, and then got back to other share pot and blew up my other Banishing Light. It was
so they that seems mana inefficient. I guess they get a food token out of that, but whatever.
Well, it was the late game. They were just like slowly eking back every single card that I took from them and getting additional value.
They wanted
I lost
to prove
that
a point.
Yeah, they did, and they did. They did. Our first uncommon here is Stormcatch Mentor. Otters, man.
I mean, it's a good card. Otters obviously isn't where you want to be, but this is still a good card.
Yeah, if you've ever seen an opponent cast this and then curve it into like a 2-drop plus the Otter draw 2, casting that for 1 mana and getting the prowess triggers and whatever else rewarding you're getting, man. So this was, for context, the Arena Open. It was a day 2 draft. I'm going into this knowing that the people I'm drafting with probably understand the format pretty well. They probably know the format, and they probably know the Otters suck. And I'm thinking, Stormcatch Mentor? What if I just take it? Like, what if I just take this here and go full tilt Otters and just cross my fingers that no one else wants a single Otter, and that I get every other Otter that's open? If someone opens like an Alania or a Ral or any good blue-red card, other Stormcatch Mentors, I'm just going to get them all for free. Is that a reasonable strategy?
No, and I think it is. Like, this is something you have to kind of like, you have to assess what the player base you are in with. And I think what you had is a good assessment. Like, these are good players. This is day 2. Like, people know Otters is not where you want to be. Nobody's taking these Otter cards. So this is the prime example of when you're going to see the best possible Otter deck outcome. It was a mouthful.
Outcome, if you will.
Yeah.
So I did stick to my guns. I ate my vegetables. I took the Corpsery Cultivator over the Stormcatch Mentor, but my gut wanted me to go with the Mentor. And the hindsight was going to be 2020 on this one. Let's get rid of the pack first, and then I'll show you what happened. We had a Stargaze here, next uncommon. I do like having a Stargaze. If you can stabilize in black-green or black-white, either on life or on board, and Stargaze X equals 4, you just feel like you can't possibly lose. Still, probably don't want to first pick it, though. I'd rather just get like a good creature.
No, I think you need to be in some type of life gain. I think you need the life, because you are losing a lot. I mean, you're losing 4, I guess. 4 life.
Yeah.
6 mana, draw 4 cards, but you're also looking at 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like black-red doesn't really want this. Blue-black feels like if you tapped out for this, you'd probably just die.
Yeah.
Feather of Flight, I do like this one. This is the uncommon that jumps a creature. This actually combos really well with our Draft Chaff Hero later, but we'll talk about that later.
No spoilers.
Yeah, probably at its best in red-white, but I like it.
Yeah, I agree. The fact that it has flash too is just nice.
I always forget it has flash.
Me too, because it's not the type of card you expect to have flash.
Yeah, like, does it need it? I don't know.
It does a lot. I mean, for 2 mana, it's replacing itself, it gives flying, pumps the creature. It does do a lot.
We got Drift Gloom Coyote. I'm now noticing on the art, I guess it implies that it eats that one that's in the back, like that, the one that's behind.
You never have to be the fastest, just don't be the slowest.
Also, hold on. These are hares. That's clearly a hare, not a rabbit, right?
Yeah, those ears definitely imply hair. Yeah, and the creepy looking face of a hare.
Yeah, that's actually what tipped me off. It's those weird, not as cute as something like Head of the Homestead.
No, definitely.
But yeah, Drift Gloom Coyote. This is a good card. It's a big banisher priest. It does what you want. Of course, if they kill it, they get the thing back. That's why ideally you want to eat a token with this. It does even reward you for eating tokens. That's one of the bounties, by the way. If you've ever eaten a token with this, get us a screenshot of that. You'll get some points. I like it, and it actually was my second pick consideration behind the Corpseberry Cultivator. I was between the Cultivator and the Coyote, and then like kind of on like a different tier, not necessarily below or above, but a different tier. I was looking at Stormcatch Mentor.
Yeah, I love Coyote. It's won me a couple games. It's a good blink target if you are in the blue-white blink, and you can start exiling their tokens and potentially
that's cool.
A little bit.
And finally, our rare, only one rare, and not even any mythics.
What are these play patterns?
Yeah, Balin the Haymaker. I've played with this once or twice. When you get it going, it does some really cool stuff. The tap draw effect, it's good.
Yeah, the fact you can do it instant speed, it's not on your opponent's, like you don't have to do it on your turn. And it gets crazy. If you have 4 tokens, I've first played against one of these and they pumped it up multiple times with that final ability. It's terrifying.
Let's be honest though, this is a commander.
Yes. Gotta feed the commander community.
It may as well say on it, like, it may as well have like a command zone text on it or some other junk like that, because this is the most obvious commander card I've ever seen, besides ones that literally reference the command zone.
Yes. Well, that's how it felt. Like, it's like MH3, you had the commander cards in these packs. That's how this feels in a less direct way.
Look, at least we're getting more than one rare per pack. So now let's go to my next that's it. Never mind. Never mind.
Only one rare.
So I don't know. What are you taking out of this pack?
I mean, I know what you took. I probably would take either the Coyote or the Nocturnal Hunger. I'm still always high on removal, even if others saying it's not great. I'd still rather remove the biggest threat on the board and have to deal with a couple 1/1s.
Yeah. So I was sort of rewarded, sort of punished right away. I picked up a Vine Reap Mentor, and the next couple picks, I got a Cash Grab, another Corpseberry, a Thought Stalker, and then another. Where is it? Is that this pack? Oh, it was that next pack. I opened my second Corpseberry, or that was my second grab. Vine Reap. Yeah, and I got another Cash Grab. Like, I was in for black green, but I should mention it was around late this pack when it was pick 7. I see an Alania, and that's right when I want to see Alania. I love slamming a pick 7 Alania, and just for the listener, I think should I have done this? I had a little bit of resolve. I took the Treetop Sentries. This is Arena Open, right? I'm hoping to just kind of open some good cards, and pack 2, I'm hoping is going to be better. In hindsight, I think there were probably like 2 other black-green drafters at this table, and obviously there were 0 people playing red-blue otters. If I could have taken the Alania, my next pick would have been probably, I don't know, Pearl of Wisdom. My next pick would have been Stormcatch Mentor, which wheeled. My next pick would have been Storm Splitter. My next pick would have been Pathmaker. Then I would have gotten the Tempest Angler and the Kindle Sprug Duo. And I would have wound up with, I think, 7 cards that were probably better than the first 7 cards that I took.
It's pretty gross. I mean, yeah, like you said, hindsight's 20/20 with this.
Yeah, just brutal. And then in pack 2, it didn't get much better.
The otters got better.
Oh yeah, there was a row going around, like pick 5. Like
Another mentor here.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Relive those past memories, Ben.
Yeah. We did do a complete breakdown of my entire draft as the Patreon pre-show this week. If you're interested, patrons, head on over and see that, because man, it's a good dissection of how to look back at a draft with hindsight. But I don't know. I don't feel as though it was correct to go into otters there. But towards the latter half of that pack, like it was just so
open,
like low risk to take the Alania and to go in. And I think I should have been a little more open to it. I don't know. I ended up going 1-3 in the open. So, oh well, that's hindsight for you.
All right, let's move on to our main topic here. We're going to talk about our Draft Chaff Hero. And it's not the card I think most people are expecting, but it is the Stoat Goat here. We have we have Bright Blade Stoat here. It's the 2/2 for 2 first strike lifelink. It's just a solid card, you know. It's pretty vanilla for what we've seen in Modern Magic, but it's great.
This is exactly the kind of Magic card that scratches the itch for me.
Yes.
Like that it's a card that I love. I think it was, I don't remember the name. It was back in New Capenna.
Ooh.
Yeah. There was a rare. It was 1 red, green, white. You know the one I was talking about? It was a 4/4 haste lifelink trample.
Oh yeah, yes. And it's so basic, but it's so
something
good.
Dancers.
Fleetfoot Dancer or something like that.
Fleetfoot. Yeah, that might have been it. So just like that pure, clean design. There's not like 50 words on it about how it triggers, then there's nestled triggers, and then it does these things for these 3 different vectors, but not for these other 2. No, the Stoat is honest with you.
Yes, it's pure.
Yeah.
And just look at him.
If that doesn't make a good sticker, I'll eat my hat. Like, come on, that thing looks amazing already. So, first of all, this thing is pretty solidly statted, right? It is a stat beast. You're getting a 2-mana first strike lifelink for 2. So it's a Stoat, which, you know, kind of funny that it's not one of the main creature types, which makes it sort of vector agnostic. Like you don't really get the benefits of like the rabbits or the mice or anything here. Yeah. You're sort of asked to solve the challenge of where does this guy fit?
Yeah.
And the answer is basically any white deck.
And I think that's what kind of made this choosing. I had a difficult time actually deciding what we wanted to do for the Draft Chaff Hero. Yeah. And I think it is because this set is so vector dependent. Like if we pick a rabbit, obviously this rabbit's only good in the rabbit vector. Yeah. You know, like it's kind of hard to find, like you said, an agnostic card that kind of works in multiple vectors. And I think this is a perfect example of a card that does do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sort of the thing you want to take early. And maybe you would take this over a card that's slightly better, but pushes you really deep into a certain vector. And I do think there's a lot of strength to finding your lane in this format, as I failed to do in my draft previously. I wish there was a card like this that was a little more open. Maybe the Driftgloom Coyote would have been that, that I could have taken a little more and left myself a little more open. Anyway, this thing just has a body. I love what it does when it's on the board. So it's a 2-drop. You need a good amount of 2-drops in this format, or else you will get run over. It's a pretty speedy format, one of the fastest we've seen. The 17 lands data showed us that. I like that it has first strike and lifelink. If you're getting beaten down by lizards, they get brick walled by this thing. Yeah. They just cannot attack through it. Also, they're usually trying to ping or drain you out. The lifelink on this goes a long way.
It does. The rabbit decks too. I feel like 2 powers or 2 toughness is like the toughness to beat. Rabbits tend to have low power, and your opponent's going to be really hesitant to swing in with like a wider board, especially if you're going to gain that life back. And it just puts them to a stop.
And if you have like a combat trick you can represent with this, then they really can't attack. Yeah, it really does eat most stuff at 2 and even a lot of stuff at 3. It eats like the Intrepid Rabbit or Worn Elder or any tokens that are laying around. Tokens can never get through this thing. Something else about the Stoat that we like, it helps you win your race. So let's now look at it as like an aggressive card. Say you're playing it in like a red-white aggressive, like say you're doing the heroic thing, right? And you got a bunch of pump spells. You're going to win your race with this guy so easily. If you're pumping it and gaining like 3-4 life each hit, even just gaining the 2, that really adds up against all these smaller creatures. If you're playing against another red-white deck, you will just win because you're doing about the same thing, but you're getting all that life back.
Yeah.
By the way, have you ever read the flavor text on this guy?
No, I'm awful at reading flavor text. I barely read the cards I play.
Man, I make it a point to read every single line on every single card. This flavor text goes, for listeners that may not have read it, bright blades are trained to constantly mind the sun's position, adjusting the angle of their dagger to maximize glare. And
Oh,
you'll notice
wow.
that this stoat has sort of like I guess a glass or some sort of like carved blade, and it is doing it. It's refracting. So this guy's a physicist. I love him.
What is it? May thy knife chip and shatter.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a Chris knife. This is awesome. Honestly, I love that little bit of kind of world building that's baked into this card.
Yes.
And you don't see anything else about Bright Blades in the entire set, but that really helps flesh out the world. And I think that's honestly value in a different way.
No, I agree. And like, if we ever come back to Bloomburrow, like this is the type of thing you're like, oh, I hope they kind of delve deeper into this lore of this aspect of this card.
Let's get Stoats as like the
Yes.
white creature type. That'd be cool. As always, with our Draft Chaff Hero, we will have a sticker of the Bright Blade Stoat coming around. Patrons, if you're at the sticker tier, you can expect one. Now, also, something to know, I do keep those stickers on me. So if you ever bump into me at like an event, CubeCon in particular, I'm starting to get pretty excited for. I was making some Cube edits this morning. We'll talk about those later. If you ever bump into me at something like that, find me. I've always got spare stickers on me. So maybe if you just want to come hunt me down in person, that's another way to get your hands on the Bright Blade Stoat sticker, which I've already talked to our artist about. It's going to be great. Let's take a quick look at some of the data for our little Stoat goat here. Now, this guy isn't actually really one of the top performing uncommons, but it is good. I think some of these are getting boosted by the strengths of their vectors. For example, we see a whole lot of like black and green and white uncommons at the higher performance ranking. And of course, I'm using game in hand win rate here on 17 lands. Funny enough, Vine Reap Mentor is the top performing uncommon. That's the squirrel one.
That is pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, the squirrel vector is great, and obviously this is a really good enabler for that deck. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that card that high up.
Mm-hmm. It's got a 62.0% game in hand win rate. Pretty impressive. A little behind that at 61.7 is Hunter's Talent. This card is pretty sick too. I'm looking to get this into the cube. But I don't know. It might just be too good. We've already got like Garrick's Uprising in there. Kind of does the same thing. Beneath that is actually a runner-up. It's Thought Stalker Warlock. This one was actually maybe my second pick for the Draft Chaff Hero this week. I don't know. The Stoat really it feels better though. Like,
no, it does. Like it feels like real. Like it's like core Magic. The Lizard though is great. I agree. It is a pretty close runner-up. It feels really good to cast, especially if we deal damage to the opponent.
Yeah. Interestingly, in this set, no uncommon cracks the top 10. I think the best one at Vine Reap Mentor, I think that's something like the 13th or 14th best card in the set. Those that are interested, currently the best card in the set is Season of Loss by game in hand win rate. It's got a 66.2% game in hand win rate. And it's actually not that high. I mean, we've seen good uncommons push into like the high 60s. Even something like Inspired Overseer, that was up there. So yeah. Pretty balanced set. Of course, right behind that is Sword of Fire and Ice, and like that's just
it's gross.
It's stupid. Valley Quest Caller, Dream Dew Enchanter, Fecund Green Shell, other ones that you'd expect to be up at the top slots are all up there. The big flashy Golgari mythics.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the vectors that the Stoat Goat works pretty well in. Obviously, we're only going to play this in a white deck, so let's take a look at red-white. Arguably the best vector for this card. It pairs really well with most of the pump effects you see. It's a 2/2 with First Strike Lifelink. You obviously want to pump this, invest a lot of mana into this card, make it big. I really like Shortbow with this card, making it a 3/3 First Strike Vigilance Reach. You know, it's just the keyword soup. Yeah. But I think this is the home for this card, is the red-white vector.
Mm-hmm. Pairs well with stuff like Mabel's Metal, Sazakap's Brew, all the instant speed pump stuff.
Yes.
I actually really like it with Feather of Flight. You build a little mini Baneslayer Angel.
Oh my god, yeah, wow.
Now, black-white, this is, I think, is the more subtle good home for it. It gives you a life gain trigger reliably every turn, but notably, it gives it before combat damage. So before most of your stuff will deal combat damage, sometimes you could just prank your opponents with this if they don't understand the interaction. For example, Moonstone Harbinger, the bat, if you've gained or lost life, it gives all your bats +1/+0 and Death Touch.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes they'll block your like Waxwane Witness or something, or I don't know, with something that they don't think is going to die to it, like a Treetop Sentries, the 2/4 reach. And then you deal your first strike damage with this. And then all of a sudden, all your bats are pumped. And that even works well with Waxwane Witness by itself. Kind of a cool way to get that sneaky life gain trigger. Plus, black-white does usually have a lot of good ways to pay life, something like Stargaze, or at higher rarities, the Lunar Convocation. So if you're gaining a bunch of life with a Stoat, you can probably find a good way to use it later.
Yeah, no. All right, next we got blue-white. I mean, I think you had this in your blue-white deck that popped off, right? So there is
I did
home for
actually.
this. You know,
Yeah.
it's not awful because the Mentor in blue-white puts counters on creatures without flying. I'd argue this is probably one of the best cards to target with that.
True.
And then you have the Squire at 4 that pumps your creatures without flying. So it's just like this is what you want to build up to. Like this is arguably the key card to invest in that set. But nobody plays blue-white except Ben on the one chance that he trophied with. But
yep. We're probably just better off not doing that one.
Yeah.
Not missing much. I actually think it might be better in blue-white than green-white, though. Weirdly enough, like you probably would play it in green-white because it's just a good card. As I mentioned, it's a stat beast. You're never really cutting it. It's just a high-rate card. But sometimes green-white really wants to up its density of rabbits. And sometimes it just has so many good 2-drops. Think of like Burrow Guard Mentor or all the other nonsense that rabbits have going on, enough carrot cakes. Sometimes you just don't really need this in rabbits, and you'd rather have like a bunch more rabbits to help your like Harvest Tide hosts and stuff like that. So I could see if rabbits is like wide open, it doesn't really happen much anymore, but if you had like a week 1 rabbits deck, I could see cutting this. Otherwise you're playing it, and you know, if you cast your rabbit response, it's a 4/3 first strike lifelink, and that's pretty beefy. So I do like it in green-white, but probably at its best in red.
Yeah. And it's best in these like go tall strategies, which is everything but the green-white, which is a go wide. So
yeah, that's true. We do have some runner-ups. We've got Wix Patrol, the 6-mana rat that kills something. Pretty good card.
Yeah, no, very solid. It's always scary to see come out. You're like, oh, it's dead no matter what. My Crumb and Get It probably is not going to save this card at this point.
Yeah. And a really strong one to recur, too, if you can get some sort of graveyard stuff going. I had a game against, it was like a black-green mirror match, and we both had a bunch of like graveyard recursion, like 2-for-1s, 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 just nonstop back and forth. And it came down to they had a Wix Patrol in their deck and I didn't.
Yeah, oh geez. I mean, this card's good too, because like by turn 6, you're milling 3. This is probably turning on Threshold too. It's got multi-levels here.
Speaking of Threshold, Shortline Looter, not one you might expect to see as a runner-up, but this was one of the first cards that jumped to my mind. I love this little guy.
Oh, it feels so good to just hit and draw one, you know, like nothing beats it. I had 2 of these in my pre-release kit when the set first came out, and it felt nasty. I thought it was going to be a much higher played card than it was, but it's still a great card.
Yeah, this one really suffers from blue, I think. This one did make it into the Draft Chaff Cube. Thoughtstalker Warlock, we mentioned this one already. That's the fixed grief, if you will. Definitely a runner-up. And Lily Splash Mentor. If you're playing blue-green, I feel like this guy is a big part of it.
Yeah. You kind of need this card. You need some way to constantly flicker your cards, and this is the best outlet for that.
Yeah, just a repeatable flicker outlet. Funny enough, this one did not make it to the Draft Chaff Cube. Despite flicker being a key vector, I think this... I have technical reasons for it. And that's that blue-green, I do not need enabling flicker. I have blue-green enabling several other things, including spiders, and Flash is the main vector for it, and then the Draft Chaff Cube.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're interested, the Draft Chaff Cube, it still exists. You know, we don't talk about it too often, but it costs like $100, and you can draft it forever, and it's an awesome format.
Yes, it is. A lot of fun with it.
Well, that is our Draft Chaff Hero. We've got some miscellaneous stuff to discuss. Speaking of the Draft Chaff Cube, there's a couple switches that I wanted to mention. We usually try to fit those in here during this episode. So one that I actually thought was worth mentioning, Gelatinous Cube, the ooze from AFR?
Yeah,
right?
AFR, yeah.
Yeah, that's out.
No.
This card...
I love the cube. You can't take the cube out of the cube.
I know. And honestly, I could see fitting this one back in at some point, but this is just too much of a... I don't know. I didn't feel like black needed this effect. This card is just so strong. I like to cut back on the strength of cards in favor of ones that have a little more interesting gameplay. This is just like, you see
just
it.
a good card, yeah.
Yeah. I don't like putting just good cards in the Draft Chaff Cube. I'd rather they be good at doing a little more specific of a thing that plays into our vectors. And unlike Bloomburrow, the vectors expand past just the 10 two-color archetypes. Like, we've got stuff that can happen outside of its color pair. So, for example, I mentioned blue-green flash. You could also have blue-white flash or green-white flash because we've seeded white with a bunch of interesting flash cards. Black has a bunch of interesting flicker cards. Gelatinous Cube being one of them. I just thought it was a little too generically good, and you could just stick it in any black deck rather than being like that kind of flicker payoff. I replaced it with Thoughtstalker Warlock, which
I mean, it's arguably just also a good card.
Yeah, but it takes a little more to enable. You need to be attacking. You need to be doing something. It's a little worse as a body, too. It's a 2/2 menace instead of a 4/3.
It's true.
Doesn't give you that late game mana sink either. I like this change. This is a simple one. I swapped out Power Word Kill for Fell.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Just very similar card. I like
slows the format down a little bit too.
Yeah, and that whole non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, non-dragon. I never liked having that text in my cube. Like, I don't even know how many angels, demons, devils, and dragons there are. But I don't want that to be the reason that someone's removal spell doesn't work. This was actually feedback from a friend of ours, from Ryan. Hushwing Griff, it's out. It just shut down so many decks. This was the 3-mana 2/1 flash flyer. Creatures ETBing don't cause abilities to trigger. He had a good point. I wanted there to be some sort of hate against the flicker decks because they are really strong.
Yeah.
But it turns out that's just not very fun.
Nobody likes stacks players.
Yeah, and white has a lot of flicker stuff too. So it's like, what is Hushwing Griff really doing here? Swap that out for the Stoat Goat. Bright Blade Stoat is in. A couple of changes I made. Teamer Sabretooth. I thought I had a combo with this, but then I realized I didn't.
It's a trick card. People are like, oh, I'm taking this because I know I'm going to pop off with it and never find a way to actually do it.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I think I thought it combo with Village Bellringer, which it does, but you need, I think, like, you need creatures to be able to tap for like mana.
Yeah,
it's like a CEDH thing. I don't know. Take it back to CEDH. So Teamer Sabretooth is out, replaced by Galewind Moose. The big elk is in. This is maybe a funny one. Goblin Electromancer swapped for Stormcatch Mentor.
Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty good. It's an improvement.
Yeah. The reason I thought about this was because red is seeded with heroic cards. So cards like pump spells, things like that. And the Electromancer, Stormcatch Mentor, they're so similar. I thought just trying it out with Prowess is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Prowess and Haste too. Yeah, you can almost get this like Jeskai heroic deck going now.
Yeah, it's a slightly more interesting attacker. Whereas the Electromancer kind of just sits there and does nothing.
Yeah, you don't want to attack with that. You don't want to lose that. And like now this has the option to actually punch through.
Yeah. Weaver of Lightning. This is, do you know this card? This is a pretty niche one. 200 red, it's a 1/4. I honestly don't remember what set this is from. It has reach, because why not? And it says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Weaver of Lightning deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls. This one always bothered me, because it can't ping your own stuff in the dinosaurs vector, and like we have like an enrage thing going on with like Hornet's Nest, and there's an Antuco that makes insects when it gets dealt damage. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can do. It never works with that. It does have higher toughness than power, which works for the Butts theme. But blue-red in this set, it's not really Spellslinger as it is like big free casting.
Yeah.
And triggering this, it didn't really, I don't know, it just didn't really fit. So actually, funny enough, I had this seeded as a heroic payoff. I don't really know how that got in there. I think that was an artifact of like hour 5 of cube edits, and I was just like, screw it,
just stick it here. Yeah,
curve consideration. Well, now we have a whole new set that has heroic cards in it, and I think one of the most striking of them is Heartfire Hero. I think you'll probably be pretty happy to see that one.
I love this card. I've had so many opponents kill it and like not actually read the card, and I just hit them in the face for like 6 or 7. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So that guy's in. And the last one is one that I already mentioned, is a swap from Merfolk Looter to Shoreline Looter. Just getting a little bit of attacking rather than staying back and doing nothing. See what happens. Give blue a little more way to push damage through between that and the Stormcatch Mentor. Seems good.
Can we Sharpie cube the Heartfire Hero so it can trigger more than once per turn?
Oh man, I bet we could do something more messed up to this.
I mean, if we could turn off that once per turn thing, that card can be nuts.
Honestly, yeah. I almost wish. No, I think it's pretty pushed as is.
Okay, all right.
By the way, we have some bounty board updates. those watching on YouTube or Spotify video, you can see our pretty sick way of keeping track of bounties. We've just got a giant Excel spreadsheet here. So the updates we've made, well, we realized some of these just weren't really working. So some of them were too hard, and some of them just didn't really make sense for the format. So we've swapped a couple out. We've updated, what was it? Controlling all 10 creatures.
Yeah, the zoo. Yeah, we thought. I mean, obviously, nobody knows how the format was going to play out, but yeah.
Now you only have to control the 4 types associated with one color. Much more doable on a card. We nerfed the Eluge one too. Now you only have to control a 5 power Eluge at all instead of like putting flood counters on a bunch of stuff. What was this one? This one I think was
forge 3 times in a turn.
Forage, that's not really happening unless you have exactly Camellia, and then it's basically happening every turn. So this one I think is much funnier. Either mill all hits or entirely whiff on a cash grab. Cash grab's seen a lot of play, so we're going to leave in Bedtime Story about drawing an heirloom epic card for 0 mana, even though that card isn't really playable. Our Like Rabbits one, we've downgraded from 10 rabbit tokens to a mere 5 rabbit tokens, a much more reasonable number. We're going to leave the control 2 level 3 class enchantments. That seems fine. We're going to leave having all 4 abilities on Beza trigger. Harmless Offering, we no longer require you to draw an opponent out manually. If you just mill an opponent out in this format at all, we think you deserve those 15 points. And finally, All Rats. You just have to have a 10 power rat. There's a couple ways to do it. You can get really clever about it. You could use pump spells, or you could use, well, we're not going to tell you other ways, but you can have 10 power rats. I've done it myself. I did it on like day 1 of the format. So
Harmless Offering was my favorite original one. Like before we even put it on here, it was originally going to be gift your opponent a card to mill them out. It would have been beautiful to pull off, but it would have never happened. Yeah, you could have made it probably like a 50-point reward.
Yeah, honestly. It's just too fast of a format for that kind of thing to happen. Another thing here, we got some ban announcements. Now, I know we're Draft Chaff, but we like to keep an eye on our constructed formats too. Sometimes I pick up a modern deck or a pioneer deck, or sometimes even a standard deck, although that doesn't happen very often. We got a big ban announcement coming up. This has kind of been anticipated for a while. This is the announcement everyone's looking for to fix modern, legacy, maybe pioneer. I'm seeing thoughts about like Grief going. Obviously, Nadu is something has to happen to the Nadu deck. Like,
I don't know. I have a hard time believing they're going to ban Nadu. Like it's Hogak all over again. I have a feeling they're going to try to ban the payoff cards for it and see what happens to the format, and if it continues to kind of spiral. I
mean, I'm just one data point here, but I'm basically skipping the RCQ season. There's not that many limited ones firing in the next month. There's like 1 or 2, and they're in New York City. Like, I don't want to play modern.
Some stores were changing off of modern to limited, but not enough for us, obviously.
Yeah, no, I like pulling up my was it spicerack.gg and seeing sealed. That's just, I'm not seeing that. So kind of a bummer way to end the summer RCQ wise, but I don't really want to play modern while Nadu's happening. And if they ban Grief, I mean, I'm gonna have to get a whole new thing. I love scamming people.
And Pioneer, I'm curious to know what they're going to do here, because Pioneer's kind of dominated by these 2 decks right now, the Amelia combo and the Vampire decks. Yeah, like, I've been enjoying Pioneer. My local store actually does Pioneer on Friday nights, so we'll see what happens to that format as well.
Yeah, I'm a diehard Pioneer Humans player, so
you don't care what happens.
They're not unless they touch Adeline, which they literally will never do, or Thalia for some unknown reason. No, Humans, it gets better every set, little by little, except Bloomburrow.
I was going to say, what Humans are getting Bloomburrow?
We didn't get much.
Put the Stoke Goat in the Humans deck.
Yeah, honestly, it wouldn't be that bad. Our listener question of the week. Spurlo, thank you for the question. We've got, which are your favorite Bloomburrow talents? For fun or for power?
Oh, thoughts? Man. I like, and obviously it's not great and limited, I like the token generator one. I can't remember the name of it right now. The token payoff that makes all your tokens 2/2s or gives them 2/2.
Oh, yeah, the Caretaker's talent, the one that copies.
I love that card.
I tried drafting it a couple times. I usually find that I either don't get enough token makers to play it, or I don't know, just that like I draw it in the wrong order. Like I have that and not my token makers. You really need that critical mass. I've seen that card actually going off in standard.
Well, yeah, it's actually shot up in price quite a bit too. That and Innkeeper's Talent. Innkeeper's Talent was like a, like a $3-4 card. It's like a 20+ card now.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, that's an Innkeeper's Talent. While we're on it, is probably the strongest talent in here, and it's obviously I would be my pick for strongest and favorite to play for that aspect.
Yeah, I do love Hunter's Talent. Getting to pick that back up through the many various green effects that you can do that with, that feels pretty busted.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it's a permanent, you can get it off cash grab. If they blow it up, you can get it back off of any of your permanent return to hand cards. But the one that I'm honestly, now that there's no more Arena Opens or RCQs, like I'm kind of feeling a little off the format. But there is one thing that I want to do that I haven't gotten the chance to, and that's a Builder's Talent deck, where you have like 2 copies of Builder's Talent, 2 carrot cakes, and then a couple other things that trigger it, like what is it? Honey pot.
Oh yes.
Flower.
Well, does Builder's Talent only trigger off non-token? Like, does food tokens entering trigger Builder's Talent?
Yeah.
It does. So that's pretty gross.
Yeah, non-creature, non-land permanent. So I think there's something cool that you can do with Builder's Talent. I haven't gotten to do it yet myself, but I've seen things. I've seen the YouTube videos, the screenshots on Twitter. Like, maybe there's something to this card that I haven't cracked yet. Also, I've always gravitated towards like a black-white Super Friends deck in Standard. And I'm kind of thinking it might do work there. Like make a wall, then trigger off all your Planeswalker ETBs.
Defend your Planeswalkers. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Standard again? What do we do?
Let's move on to our Teferi Tibble. Tyler, what's up with you this week?
Yeah, so yesterday me and my wife went to a friend of ours party up in Long Island. It was actually a funeral themed party. I know, here stay with me here. So she's actually starting her PhD, and this was the death to her social life party, we called it. So everybody wore black. Cool. Yeah, it was a good time. It was nice. It's a little upsetting that we probably won't see her too much in the upcoming years, but exciting new start for her.
Yeah, that is honestly a pretty fun theme.
Yeah, no, I liked it. My wife told me, I'm like, what are we doing? But no, it was cute. We made these like cookie bars with Milano cookies as tombstones on them.
Oh, that's awesome.
We wrote like "Rest in Peace, Sleep" and like all these little cute things.
Nice.
Tibble, I love my cat. Her name's Pierogi. She has been on my nerves this week, dude. She's coming in. She's like scratching at the door at like 4:30 every morning. Like, my wife's 30 weeks pregnant, wants to sleep. Like, she just wants to eat. We feed her at 7 every day. But there's something going on right now. I don't know. I gave her too much catnip, I think.
Do you think she knows that she's about to not be the baby of the house anymore?
I think so, because we cleared out what's going to be the nursery, and like I'm starting to paint it, and she's been sitting in that empty room like every day. I think she knows something's coming.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. How about you, man? How's your week been?
Pretty good. I was actually out in the wilderness the entire last week. I was on a camping trip in
Foraging?
Cape Cod. Yeah, I was doing some foraging. Actually, there were squirrels. It looked a lot like the maybe bushy bodyguard or the one of those. It's like the red squirrels that live up in like the Atlantic, like northeast-ish area. They make a chattering sound that is so ungodly loud and so startling. Yeah, a chatterstorm. It is literally a chatterstorm. So at like 5, 6 a.m. I'm getting woken up by this. You're camping, so like, there's upsides and downsides. Upsides are, late night bonfires and just relaxing. And then downsides include, when it rains or like a bird poops through your tent window and like that sort of thing. But honestly, it was a lot of fun. I was up in Provincetown, very, very gay area. A lot of fun stuff to do there.
Yes.
I didn't actually know what people meant when they said that going into it. I get it now. It's just like sort of like and the funniest thing was there was like a monument in the town. It was like in this museum, and it was like, why is P-Town such an iconic local refuge for LGBTQ like to come and like feel accepted? And the answer was, we don't actually know. It just kind of happened.
That's the best way for it to happen, like naturally and like yeah.
I think that after that they said like maybe it's the Azorians that came over during like Portuguese whaling.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, I don't know about that, but
yeah.
I did, however, this transitions into my Tibble. I learned that when most people go camping, they don't also do full days of like stuff.
Yeah, you don't just sit around the campfire and eat all day. That's like my favorite part about camping.
Oh yeah, I think maybe I'm learning some things about myself in that we did like full day like downtown. We did whale watches. We did like hikes, and then also did the camping thing. And I'm realizing I came away so exhausted.
Yeah,
Like I had a great time, but so exhausted that like I was like, what? Why do I feel like this? And my girlfriend goes like, it's because we did this wrong. Like,
it must be a relaxing trip.
so yeah, not really relaxing. My other tibble, of course, is that I whiffed on the Arena Open. So, no $2,000 this time. And what really gets me is that Otters was right there.
You can't live in the past. I know we're gonna keep talking about these Otters deck. I mean, obviously it would have been great, but
yeah, whatever. Thanks for listening. Check out our Discord. There's lots of cool stuff happening there. Come hang out with us. It's a fun place to be. And patrons, thanks. You make the show possible. Head on over to Patreon if you're interested in tossing us dancing buffoons a quarter. And by the way, check out our YouTube. Lots of cool stuff happening there as well. Drafts going up every Monday and Wednesday. And we've been having a lot of fun with those. I think we're about to record one right now. I'm kind of excited for that. Gotta, I don't know, get back on the horse or whatever ride in.
Let's force Otters this time, Ben.
yeah, okay, cool. Okay. I had a bit of a movie day yesterday. I didn't really know what to do. I was still kind of that unpacking from the trip haze. Yeah. I kind of double featured movie wise. I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
First time.
Never seen it.
Yeah, honestly, it's Stanley Kubrick. I've always loved The Shining, and I've been like, man, maybe I should watch more by this guy. I like following directors, seeing what they got. It's something else. It is plotting. It is methodical. It is sometimes like hard to watch. But I think that's coming from like a brain that's, I guess,
hard to watch in what kind of way? Like you want to turn away from the screen, or it's just hard to keep track of?
It's almost like I love David Lynch too, like Twin Peaks and that sort of thing. David Lynch he's got in one Twin Peaks episode, there's a 7-minute long shot of a dude sweeping a floor, and you get why he did it. And there's shots that feel like that when you're watching it. Things are moving so slow, like a ship is drifting across the screen so slowly, and you know why it's happening like that. But it's still like it forces you to sit with your emotions.
I don't like that.
No,
I'm gonna put TikTok on if it goes longer than 2 minutes.
This movie long as hell. Gotta get me a Subway Surfers going. Love that. Then immediately followed it with Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh my god, dude! What are we talking about? Whiplash.
Yeah, it felt like going from like a
nothing to everything.
A TikTok video. Yeah. Have you seen that one?
No, I have. Dude, I want to watch. I'm not a movie guy. Like I wish I was, but no, I haven't even seen that. Like Deadpool, I want to see. There's so many things to catch up on. There's such an overabundance of media these days.
Yeah, and we're just pumping out more.
Yeah, that's true. We're feeding into it.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I've kind of sworn off Marvel since the end of the whole like Infinity, and like I was in college for that. It was like you'd go with all your friends. We had a movie theater in our dorm, which was sick.
Cool.
It's like built. It was like an apartment complex sort of dorm when I was a senior, and it was like the Rutgers Theater was built into it, so we just go down in our pajamas and like that was awesome.
It's one of those things you had to be there for the Marvel like Peru cap or like peak of it. Yeah, it's kind of died out these days.
Yeah, I liked it for what it was. I liked that it did some. I like James Gunn, another solid director. I like that it did some stuff that not a lot of the other Marvel movies do. It had stakes.
Permanent stakes, hopefully.
Not
Not bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to play Mr. Dr. Doom.
Oh my god! Don't get me started. I never really was that into like the Marvel comics or like the comic lore or any of that. I like the movies well enough when they were fun and like somewhat good.
Yeah.
I didn't even need the Marvel movies to be good. If they were fun and somewhat good, I was like, all right, I'll see the next one.
But I'm curious too. I think Doom from like the comics is like it's totally disformed. Like, are they gonna just not make Robert Downey Jr. look like Robert Downey Jr.? Like,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And plus, like, won't this be in this? It's in the same universe.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, what were you thinking here? I don't know. I'm gonna stick to MF Doom. Screw Dr. Doom.